Good afternoon, everyone. All right, well, welcome to Unleashing Creativity. And we are looking at Book Creator as a way to empower your students. I'm Laura Gabrion. I'm a literacy consultant here at Wayne Risa, and I'll pass it off to Judy.
Welcome. Again, I'm Judy Bowling, and I'm an instructional technology and library consultant here at Wayne Risa.
So I want you to think for just a minute, don't respond yet, what you think about or what that word writing, when you hear it, what comes to mind. I want you to find a meme or a GIF or an emoji that captures your feelings about writing. And then when you hear go, add your image to the chat. So we're going to just take a minute, think about what writing means to you, find that image or emoji, and we're going to just give you a minute before we say go. All right, go. Okay. Airplane, a happy face. I'm liking it so far. Kind of a cool look. Love the oh, that's so cute. Just keep writing. Thinking. Writing turns you upside down. I figured there was going to be a sad or frustrated face in the crowd. Judy can identify. We talk about this all the time. Oh, calming. I love it. Light bulb. Yes, we also have some emotions when it comes to writing. And I'll say that I do love to write, but it does become tiring at times. And Judy's fully laying on the ground when it comes. she's down for the count when it comes to writing. All right, so our session today is linked to that theme of joy that has been throughout our entire Blitz series, but we really want you to think about how you can generate joy when it comes to writing with your kids. And we've got this tool that we want to show you as one way to go about that. We've got some other ideas as well. But ultimately, I think we want to make sure that we stay on that idea that learning needs to be meaningful. It needs to be relevant, and it really can be fun. So we want to think about the ways that we can do that as we get ready to welcome these kids back into our classrooms for the year.
So with that, like Laura said, that we want it to be fun. And so we know that if learning is meaningful, relevant, and fun, that it tends to be more effective and engaging for students. And when students see a direct application for what they're learning to their lives, then they're motivated to learn and explore the topic even more. So with that, we have chosen to talk about Book Creator tonight, like Laura mentioned, because we feel that this is a tool that can bring some joy into the classroom and can spark some writing creativity with your students and even yourselves. And so if you are not familiar with Book Creator, it is basically a platform for creating an ebook. And within this program, everything you need is embedded in the program. So you certainly can do app smashing, but one of the nice things about that is that you can keep your kids all in one place. So whether it be adding text, incorporating audio, video, drawings, photos, and a whole lot more that we're going to share with you, it's all embedded in the program itself. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for your kids to create an ebook. And it's really user-friendly, which makes it one of our very favorite tools because it is a blank canvas, but with lots of possibilities. And it's also a tool that once you or your students create your book, that it can be shared with anybody. And the nice thing about that is that it will create a link that you can share, and anybody who receives that link is going to be able to read that book without having to log into any account, without having to have any special software. So it is super user-friendly for both the creator and the person receiving the link to read the book. So just a couple nuts and bolts real quick, that it is free. There's a free version, and as with many tools, there's a premium version. But the nice thing with the free version is that you pretty much have the exact same functionality as you do with the paid version. Your limitation is that you get one library that you can create or have your kids create up to 40 books. And some of the features of the paid version is the real-time collaboration, which is something that we're going to do with you guys a little later in this webinar. And you can create some additional books. And there's a couple little features that are different, but for the most part, I would say 95% of the free version gives you the exact same functionality as the paid version. And it works on all the popular browsers, and you can do Google single sign-on. And hopefully by the end of tonight, you guys will be inspired to use this tool to write books yourself, have your students write books, bring some joy into your classroom, and we'll see that it's a tool to bring joy and creativity into your class. So we are all authors, and tonight our focus is to introduce the tool to you, give you a few ideas to spark your own creativity, but really the possibilities for using this tool are endless. Anything that you can think of, you can use this tool for. And so we just put a couple different examples in there that you can use it for anything. So it could be for just, a back to school all about me book to something that's higher level with research and everything in between. And the other thing with this tool is that it really is K-12 and beyond, because again, it's like Google, it's a blank canvas. So lots of opportunities to add interactive elements, be creative, add some joy, and at the end of the day, get your students writing. And so we know that when kids write for a global audience, they tend to take their work a little more seriously because they know it's going to be seen by people outside of their classroom. It motivates them to put forth a little bit more, which often results in improved writing. And then it also with a means to improve their communication skills, and it just gives a sense of authenticity and purpose. And so, like I mentioned before, one of the great things with this tool is that it's user-friendly. And when we share this link for their book to others, it's so user-friendly for the person receiving that link, because again, nothing to log into, nothing to download, just click and read. Many of you are probably familiar with Sir Ken Robinson. He's one of my favorite people, but in our theme of joy and creativity tonight, we just want to elevate that the whole creative aspect is so important now more than ever. And as Ken Robinson so famously said back in his TED Talk, is that he argued that the artistic creativity of kids is educated out of them by schools, and he believes rather that all of our kids are creative, and we just have to provide opportunities for them to do that. And we believe that Book Creator is one of those tools that can help you bring creativity with your students to the classroom. And so what we'd like to do is we are going to demo the product for you and give you hopefully a little bit of ideas. And then we're going to come back and have an opportunity for you guys to join into a collaborative book. So you get a little bit of practice yourself tonight. And then we're going to leave you with some resources that you can dive into so that you can get started with your students day one. Okay, so with Book Creator, when you first sign in, if you've not created an account, it's going to have a yellow screen that has student on it. You want to make sure that you choose teacher, because as a teacher, you can add students into your classroom. But if you log in as a student, the only thing that you can do is join classrooms. So you want to just make sure that you're really careful about that when you are logging in for the very first time, that you are a teacher, not a student. So when you first log on, one thing that you're going to notice is that I have lots of libraries here. And part of that is because I have the paid version. If you are just using the free version, what you will see is my books, and then you're going to see a single library. So think of my books as like your Google Drive. So that's where you store your own collection of books. You'll notice the lock, meaning nobody can see those books but me. And so I can share them if I want to, but by default, they are private to me. And so you will get when you first log on, a single library, and your bookshelf is going to be completely empty. And so again, I have some additional ones here because I have the paid version. But when you scroll down, you'll see where you can create books. And then down further, you're going to see a button there to join a library, which is what you guys are going to do in a few moments. But what I'd like to do is, again, show you that I'm going to go into our current workshop here. And in a moment, Laura's going to take the reins and show you, but a couple of things in this view is that when you create a new book, you've got a couple choices here. So you can certainly choose what size book that you want to create. You see at the top, you've got 3 blank books, and then at the bottom, you've got some that look like a comic book. It's your personal preference. I tend to opt to choose one of the books at the bottom with a comic. And the only reason is it's still going to start out as a blank book, but what it affords you is more choices. So if you wanted to add some fonts that looked more like a comic, you get those options in the comic layout. If you wanted to add some of the comic grids, you've got those choices in the comic layout. You don't have to use any of those, but you've just given yourself some additional options. So I tend to choose one of those books. You'll also notice here that you've got templates, so you can start out with a template if you're feeling like you need to start with some ideas already in place. But we're going to start with a blank canvas here. And we've got a book already started. Now, Laura and I are going to be collaborating back and forth on a single book. And again, this is one of those features that is part of the paid version. But again, because we wanted you guys to all experience it tonight, we're going to demo in a collaborative book. So we're going to take turns, and then you can kind of catch a little glimpse into what you guys are going to be doing there on the right. So I'm going to stop sharing and pass it on to Laura so she can start.
All right, so we're creating a book together, Judy and I, but we're sharing it with all of you. We wanted to illustrate just starting out where you're going to come up with a background for your book cover. And one of the things that Judy has been teaching me about is 2 critical tools up in the top right corner are the plus sign and the inspector sign. And one of the things that has to happen for you to be able to toggle between them is you've got some options here. And once that option is selected, you'll be able to manipulate it more or format it more by going to the eye. But when you're working with your background, unless you're going to make your background an image, you're really kind of starting from scratch. In essence, then your whole blank page is selected. So we're going to go over here, and you can see you've got some comic options. You've got some, colors. You've got things like paper, borders, just, different things that you can do to create the background of your book. So let's do something like borders, and we'll just do, I guess we'll do some pencils because we're writing about writing. All right. And then when you want to add text, again, you're going to go to that plus sign. We've got the option to add the text, and you've got some caption options, or not captions. Sorry, you've got an option of a caption, a kind of a comic book title, some more kind of accentuated options, or you can just go with text. And if you do go with just text, you've got options there as well. So if we named our book All About Us, and we click that done sign, if I go back over, because now this is selected to the eye, I've got some text options. So I can change the color of it. I can make it blue. I can go back and I can change the font style. So maybe I want something like Alpha Slab 1. I can go back and make it bigger by just sliding that up. And now I'm probably going to want to play around with how it looks on my page. But that just gives you a few options when it comes to text. And there's more, of course, but we want to make sure that you have a little time to play. And then say I want to just add an image. And since this is, a book about the 2 of us, maybe I'll, click on images here, and I'll just search for 2 friends. And maybe I'll grab the 2 little girls in the field here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I'm going to add, and it's taking up a bit of my space here. So there's some obviously options I can have about just sizing it, or I can play with layering it. But it's selected here. if I want to further crop it, or we definitely want to make it accessible. So we could say, you know, 2 girls in a field. If I'm gonna also choose to crop it, one of the things that you'll want to remember is that as you're cropping, instead of just clicking out of this particular page, you're going to want to go ahead and click crop. Judy, anything else that we should share about adding an image?
No, the only thing that I was going to add is that if you search like Laura just did, that is searching through like the Google safe images. So they should all be okay for kids.
Perfect. So that just gives you a few options. And like I said, you'll notice that when you go over to the eye, you also do have the option to move something to the front, the back. So if we had decided that we wanted this to be a background for our text, we could have dragged it over the text and pushed it to the back. So we've got those options as well. All right. And then if we move on to the next page, we've got, if we were going to add some images about foods we like, I wanted to point out that, I'm sorry, we're going to go into shapes here, but I can search for something like broccoli, because I know my dear friend Judy does not like fruits and vegetables. And what it's linked to in the paid version is the noun project. So while I can see these, I can't add them. I would have to have upgraded to the premium content for Book Creator. But I am able to add shapes, an arrow. I can even go back to media. And like I said, knowing that my friend here does not like things like broccoli, I can add an image of broccoli. I can even make it a clip art image. And you've got a little bit of detail of where it's from, and we can make it accessible again. All right. And then if I wanted to add maybe a line, and I wanted to explain that she really does not like broccoli, I'm even going to move that line and cross it right out. I've got that possibility as well. All right. I should add the foods that she likes, but again, I couldn't add the piece of pizza without having the premium access. So I'll go on to the next page. Anything you wanted to add about the shapes, Judy?
No, all good.
And I know we're getting some, Judy's addressing some questions in the chat. So if you've got questions, definitely add them, and we'll keep monitoring that as well. So on our next page, you can see a little screenshot here, a selfie of Judy. Because I'm hosting this particular Zoom session, I can't, it's picking up the camera for the Zoom. The Zoom's taking over for that. So I'm not able to do that myself, but I can walk you through that. So if I click on that plus sign again, and I click on camera, that's going to allow me to take that selfie. And in this case, I could hold up a book, whatever that is, but you can use the embedded webcam to go ahead and do something like that. If that's a piece that you would choose, I'm thinking like in the classroom, that'd be a great way for kids to do something that was all about me, just like we're doing with All About Us in the beginning of the year, so that you could get to know them better. And Judy, is there anything else you wanted to add about the camera feature?
No, I think just like you mentioned, that it's nice that it's built directly into Book Creator, so the kids don't have to go out to a separate app.
I'm going to go ahead to the next page, and Judy's going to show you a few other features.
Okay, so even though Laura and I changing back and forth with sharing screens, hopefully what you're seeing though is that we are working on the exact same book. So we are collaboratively working on the same book. And so one thing that Laura and I both have in common is that we both love to run. And so a nice feature with this, and again, you guys are amazingly creative teachers, but it might be that you have students create their own audiobook versions of the books that they've written. So I have typed already there. We have both run full marathons. I've run 4, and Laura has run an amazing 35. And so I'm going to go to the audio or the camera tool that Laura just mentioned, and it's working on mine. And so I'm going to click on the camera. And so here's the selfie feature that Laura was talking about. So you can see where it says take a picture, but I'm going to do a record a video. Now, for the sake of example, having my face next to there may or may not be something that your students want to do. They might want just the audio feature, but for the sake of a demo, we're going to put the whole video in there. So I'm just going to simply read the words that are on that page, and it'll give me the count. We have both run full marathons. I've run 4 and Laura has run an amazing 35. And then I'm going to stop it. You have a chance to preview it. I'll say, go ahead and use it. So as Laura mentioned with the photo, this program has a lot of accessibility features built in. So she added some alternative text so that if a student was using an accessibility device for this book, that's built in. And this is going to take a moment to render, but I'm going to click on the video anyways, and then click on the inspector button. And I don't have the captions yet, but I'll come back to this page. It's going to render in the background, but eventually when it does, I have the option to add some captions to it. So I'm going to let it sit there for a moment because it's going to continue to do a few other things in the background, and I'll come back to that. So another thing that is all about us is that both Laura and I have 3 children. And so you can see here, I've got a comic layout, and that's because I again chose the comic layout feature. So I was able to add that in as my background. And so I'm going to go back up here to the plus tool, and this time I'm going to choose just the record feature. So this isn't going to capture my video. It's just going to capture my voice. So again, this is another way that you could have kids create an audiobook. It could be a way for them to add a reflection to something that they've learned. Maybe they've done a science experiment or some type of a project. They've put a picture or they've drawn a picture. And that's another nice thing with this too. I mean, kids can actually draw a picture with crayons or pencils, take a photo of it and embed it in here as well. And then maybe narrate it or again, add it as a reflection. So I'm going to record here. We both have children who are young adults. Keep it short. I can listen to it, delete it. I'm going to use it. Now, this was a super short audio, so this should just take a moment because this also is doing a little bit of rendering in the background, because in a moment, there should be a little blue icon that's going to pop up on here that'll give me a transcript for this audio. So like all of the other objects, if I click on that and then the inspector button, I'm going to get some features here, and I'm going to add a transcript, and it does have some different languages that are in there. Now it's not going to translate it. I spoke it in English, so it's going to, it recorded in English. It can't change that, but I'm going to have it generate automatically because I can go back in later and edit if I want to. So again, another accessibility tool that's built right in. And again, this was a small recording, so it should come in pretty quick. Now, if it's just like that and I click on it, we both have children who are young adults. So you can hear it. It's very clear that that is an audio button, but we can have a little fun with shapes like Laura showed earlier. So I could do something like, maybe I want to make it a little bit more visible, and I could say something like, I could just click in the middle and just say, click here to hear my voice. I mean, or something. You can just do like click here, but I'm going to put that audio behind it. I'm going to stretch it out. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not going to work because it's behind the shape. So I'm going to come over here to the inspector button and bring that to the front, but now it doesn't look visually appealing. So I'm going to come up here to that inspector button, and you see where it says invisible when reading. So if I click that, now it's invisible. So what's only visible is click here to hear my voice. But notice now too, that little blue transcript button. So here's that accessibility feature where it transcribed this pretty well, but occasionally there's some mistakes. So I could come in here and I could do some editing to make it accurate. So again, just another option that's built right in. I'm going to go back to our video, click on that again and see if my captions are ready to be generated. So again, that'll take a moment. So it'll do something similar. So again, lots of accessibility features that are built into this. So it will add the captions and it will run in the background. So I'm going to go back. And then our last one, all about us, is that we both have pets. So another way for your students to be joyful and creative is to draw. And so I'm going to come up here to the plus symbol, and we've chosen all of the tools so far except for pen. So I'm going to come up here and notice at the top, I can change my colors. I've got a pen, marker, highlighter tool, got my eraser, my paint bucket, and I've got some emojis in there. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose brown, and I've got a dog. And okay, stay with me because it's going to look like a dog, kind of. So here's my dog, and I can just draw, and I could add grass and all kinds of things, and we'll just give him a smile and maybe a nose, and it kind of looks like an elephant backwards, but we're going to go with that. I could certainly come in here and add text, and the name of my dog is Frankie, and I'll just leave that alone. So clearly it's very evident that an artist and drawing is not my forte. So I am going to take advantage of a little AI here to help me out. So I'm going to come back here to the plus symbol, grab that pen again, but this time I'm going to choose the auto, and you can see I can change the width of my markers, but I'm going to choose auto draw. And Laura has a cat. So I'm going to start to draw her cat. And what I want you to notice, as soon as I let go of my cursor, do you see how at the very top here, it's populating with some clip art. So AI is running in the background and it's trying to guess what it is that I'm drawing. And I'm going to keep drawing until I see what I'm looking for. Hopefully a cat starts to pop up. Maybe it needs some paws and some eyes. And so I'm going to say that this is a cat. I'm not sure. Oh, there's a cat. Okay, shoo. So I click on the clip art at the top, and now it's replaced my drawing. It predicted what I was drawing. I chose it, and now I am very happy with that. So I can come back in here now, click on that, and you can have fun with it. I could grab the bucket, and maybe it's a glittery cat. Oh, that's a whole background. But when I was still drawing it, I could have gone in there and I could have changed the background, changed the color. So you can have some fun with that too. So lots of opportunities for some creativity and whatnot. So Laura and I have a book. If I go up here to my pages, I can see the thumbnails of them as we were working. Like a Google slide, I can drag and drop, rearrange them. If you have a book that has like 50 pages on it, to scroll back and forth might be cumbersome. So you could always come in here and say, move it to a specific position. We only have 6 pages, so that's not a problem. And so I'm going to add one more thing to this that you guys might be interested in, and then we're going to publish it. So I'm going to go actually all the way back to our dashboard. And at the top here, there is an option called apps. And so this is where we can add some functionality to Book Creator. So Book Creator is committed to keeping the platform user-friendly. They're not trying to bloat it with a lot of unnecessary things. They want it to be user-friendly so that the creativity can flow. With that being said, they're adding some functionality through these apps if you want to. So they're your choice to add them. And some of them are free, and you can see that some of them are premium. So the premium, you would need the paid subscription, but you can embed Canva directly in there, Bitmoji, and Giphy. And so their newest one here is Graphic Organizers, which is going to bring a lot of joy to you guys. So if it's the first time adding it, you click on it, the plus symbol, and you would then click on the Enable app. I've already enabled Graphic Organizers, but I do want to point out this gear. And if I look at the settings, I have the choice of which students can see this app. So I don't have to put it to all my libraries. You have the autonomy to choose that. But I've already added it to my Book Creator. So I'm going to go back to the book we were just working on, but I wanted you to see where it came from. And I'm going to come back here to our book, and I'm going to come up to the plus symbol. We've added all of these elements, or a version of there. You can see the layout there for the comic layout, but I'm going to click here on more, and here's where that graphic organizer shows up. And so with the free version, you have lots of choices. The paid version, you get all the choices. And so you can see there on the left, you have a lot of choices. And so I will just simply click on the writing one, since that's what our focus is. And I'm going to, maybe we're writing a story. So I'm going to click on this one here, and I'm going to say add it to the book. And the nice thing about this, I'll go back to pages, is that it kept me within my book and simply added a graphic organizer page for me, or if I was creating a book as a template for our students. So super great feature, brand new. If you're not familiar with it, I would encourage you to check it out. So we're done with our book, and now we want to publish it and share it with others. So I'm going to go back here to this view, click on that arrow. This gives me a chance to preview it a little bit, and I can see, you know, what it looks like, feels like an ebook. And under the gear, I've got some choices if I were just reading it, how I want to read it. But for the publication, I'm going to click on the 3 dots, and I want to publish it online. At this point, I'm going to give it a title, All About Us. By default, it has my name as the author just because it's in my account. You can give it a description if you want. You can choose if you want to make it public or private. If this was a book I was just going to send out to parents, most likely we would leave it private. As long as anybody has the link, they can open it. But again, that's up to you. Remixes is basically, do you want to make this a template for others to copy and use themselves? I'm going to leave that off and just say publish. Once I do that, it is now public. I can copy the link, and if I were to share that in an email, put that in a newsletter, share it with other people, no software to download, no account to log into, this is what they would see. And they've now got an ebook generated by your students. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Laura to talk about some of the ways that you might incorporate this into your classroom.
And Judy, before we do that, we had a few questions.
Sure.
Tamika asked, do students have the ability to create their own free accounts?
Technically, yes, because it's just a Google connection. But if when you are as a teacher, I can go back here. So as a teacher, you have the opportunity to give them a code. And so if I go back here, so when you've got it into the library, here's the invite code for kids to join. So that's the code we'll be giving you guys in just a moment. So when kids sign in as a student, though, they only can join libraries. So you want to encourage them to sign in as a student, but technically, yes, just as you as a teacher could technically create an account as a student, even though you're not a student, the reverse is also true. I should say that if you as a teacher accidentally log on for the first time as a teacher, as a student, the only way to convert it to a teacher would be for you to reach out to Book Creator and have them help you make that switch.
And then there was a question, is there full class editing rights for a single book? So you would just, as a teacher, add all of those students as collaborators.
Correct. And when students come in, now I don't have, yeah, I was going to go to this one because Laura's the only one in there, but if I'm in this book here, let me take it back here. So think of it not just as a book, but this library shelf. So Laura and I made a library shelf that's collaborative because we want you guys to join us on there. So if I go up here in the upper left-hand corner, right now, well, I should say this, Laura's the only one in there, but like this is sort of our demo shelf. So you can see a lot of other people in the past have logged into here, but these could be my students. So these are people who joined this shelf in the past. So by default, kids have access to potentially everybody's book on there. But when you first set it up, you can set it so that kids can only edit their own book and see their own book, or you can set it up so that kids can see everybody else's book. So a lot of that's just how you set it up yourself. But that's in the settings.
And there was one more question. Is the teacher able to lock some of the features from students? This teacher teaches kindergarten and wants them to practice drawing and not choose an AI or a suggested drawing.
You can't lock down any of the elements. The only thing that you can lock down, so like if this was an element that Laura added and I selected, I can come down here and I can lock that, and you see how it added the locks on it. So this object is locked and can't be moved. But in terms of turning on or off any of these, those are just the default settings. So you can't pick and choose from those. Everybody would have access to those.
And there's actually one more question. Can the books be printed to send home with the children?
They can. So when you're in the view and you're clicking on, well, let me just go back in case I did it too fast. So you click on that arrow in the upper right-hand corner, and then this gives you a chance to sort of preview it. But then those three dots where I chose publish, one of your features is to print it. So the only thing with that is that if you have interactive elements in there, like obviously those aren't going to print, but in terms of the text and the book, yes, you can print it. And at this stage here too, this one here, you've got the options there as well too. So back just in your shelf, you can choose print here too. Now downloading it as an ebook, that would download it as like an EPUB file that you could take and then import into an ebook reader. Anything else?
I think that was it.
And this wasn't one of the focuses that Laura and I had with writing our book, but just because we were looking at it, another new feature is that you can import PDF files directly into this. So that's a whole nother thing, but just know that that is there as well.
And I'll try to move this along just so you have time to practice. But there's endless connections to curriculum. You can connect these to reading and writing standards in ELA, or you can have them, we've created a book that's, probably something that, an All About Me could kick off the beginning of the school year and would definitely touch on ELA standards, but you could use it in a totally different capacity for math and science standards. You can work on speaking and listening standards by having them record, and even, use that as a tool for comprehension or to build comprehension. It can be tied to content area goals. Definitely can be personalized and differentiated for our students. Taps into that social emotional learning, digital citizenship, of course, and kind of gets them, gives them an opportunity to practice future ready skills. Accessibility and inclusion is part of the, that's built into the platform as we illustrated. So you've got a lot of different things that you could do to connect this to anything that you're working on in the classroom. And then we thought it might be helpful to give you a few ideas, in regards to how you might use Book Creator with your students. But I can see some of you are already adding some of your ideas, into the, like a graphic timeline of events or graphic novel of ancient history. So if there's other ideas, please keep sharing them with each other, because I think that's powerful. You have that opportunity to think of it from your own unique lens, but it's something that would help your fellow teachers in this session. But we thought we would also give you a few ideas for story starters and some links to those. So you can use this. You've got a bit.ly here for emoji write. It gives you some options for embedding emojis into a piece, and I'm going to add that link in the chat. You've also got, we've got story starters from Scholastic, and a little kind of a Judy, I'm going to have to add those in a second. But definitely that gives you some options where you can pick the adventure. It'll generate some characters. You've got the flip stories that do the same kind of thing that will allow you to use a tool to kind of stimulate those ideas for kids, because some kids will look at the blank pages of Book Creator and just get frozen and think, I don't know how to even start. So these give you some options. And then two, you can give them an existing piece. Like this is called copy change poetry, but it's taking an existing poem and having them rewrite it on their own. And in this case, it was just, I went from this is not a stick to just picking up a little key trinket and starting the same exact approach to the poem, following that pattern and creating a different poem. So even you could do that with picture books as well, which kind of segues into the last. These are some ideas, some creative ideas for read alouds and story starters. And I add that chat to the chat, that link to the chat, but I will definitely grab those other links and get those in as well.
And just as a reminder too, I don't know that we mentioned this in the beginning, but everybody who's participating in this will get a copy of the recording and also a link to the slide deck as well. So what we'd like to do is just take a few moments to have you guys give this a try. So if you've not done this before and you don't have an account, you will want to start with bookcreator.com. And like many tools, when you get in there the first time, there's lots of things to click through. But the most important thing is that if this is your first time, make sure that you are clicking on the tab that says teacher sign in, and then you'll be asked a couple questions. And then eventually you will get to a page that looks like this. This is your dashboard. So if it's your first time, you'll just have your My Books and then a single library that's not going to be named yet. But you want to scroll down and find that button that says join a library. And once you do, you're going to enter in this code. And Laura's going to put that in the chat. And I'm going to come back to this page. So I know that you don't have it, but just so that those who are in already, you're going to be on that same bookshelf that Laura and I just were a moment ago. And what we'd like you to do is to grab a page. I'm going to click on pages here. Grab a page that nobody is on at this point. And we created a template. You can see that everything we did is locked. So for the person who asked the question earlier, we locked all this down so that it wouldn't get moved around. But we would encourage you to explore, be creative, and use that yellow plus symbol to add 3 things that you've learned tonight, 2 questions you still have, and 1 challenge that you are facing. And you can enter your information in any creative way that you would like. If you would like to put it as a recording, a photo, text, if you would like to draw it out, the choice is yours. We would just like this to be an opportunity for you guys to get your feet wet a little bit with this, and also give us some feedback. So we're going to take about 5 minutes, and I will again put the code back up here and give you a few minutes to explore and share your thinking in a creative and joyful way.
Excuse me, so I am logged in.
Hmm?
I wasn't aware. I guess I already had an account because it's showing my actual name and my email address for my employer. So the page that I see, it says show invite code for others to join. I guess that would be for my students. So when I go down and click on the books, is that where I will put the code, or what do I need to do next?
So in your case, are you in a library right now, or are you looking at your blue screen like this?
Oh, you were breaking off, so I wasn't clear on what you said.
If you're looking at the blue screen, you should see a button that says join a library. So you're not in one of your own libraries, you're going to join a library. So if this is your first time seeing it, you might just see it on a single screen like you see mine right now. But if you've already been in Book Creator before, you might have to scroll down a little bit to find that join a library button. And I also want to mention too that there is no limit to the number of libraries that a person can join. So if you have the free version, you have one library by default that you can create, but you have an unlimited number of libraries that you can join. And the same is true for kids.
Thank you.
Mhm. And I'm going to just put this in page view just so we can see what's happening with everybody. And if you're looking at the Zoom screen, what you might notice too are these little bodies, little faces in the lower left-hand corner. So there's a visual that lets me know that somebody has grabbed that page. So again, be creative, use any tool of your choice. There's no right or wrong answer. I see a question for, can you use a Google Doc and paste it? I mean, anything that you paste that's text, you can copy paste into any text box. But I'm not sure like a whole Google Doc. Now, if you save the Google Doc as a PDF, you could import the PDF, the document. All right, we're starting to see some things being. So Laura, how about if we let people continue to work another minute or so, and then we can let them continue working in the background. And we'll leave this open too, for your continued exploration.
And Judy, there were a couple questions. Can you start with a Google Doc and then paste content into Book Creator?
You can, for text, that would work. It won't work for images. You can't copy paste an image. An image you would actually have to save as a file and import it like Laura did. But to just copy and paste text from a Google Doc into Book Creator, yes, you could do that.
And there was another question. If we're sharing the published book with something like Class Dojo, do we publish online only and then copy and paste a shared link? Or can we download and share the book straight into something like that?
My personal preference is I've never downloaded it as a book because of that interactive piece. The other thing is that these books are dynamic. So if anybody went in there to make a change, it would be reflective in the link. So typically publish it online, copy the link and share the link in your LMS, share it in an email, a newsletter, Class Dojo. I would typically not download it and insert it as a book. Yeah. So, okay. So thank you for that. So I'm going to grab a page that nobody's on. So someone was saying that it's locked. So it is locked. So when you come here, then you're going to want to come up to the yellow button in the upper right hand corner, and you are going to need to add a text box if you want to type, if you want to add an image. So you have to make the choices. So everything that's on the page right now, we've locked down as a template. You're basically adding a layer on top of that using any tool of your choice. Love it. Oh, got some fancy backgrounds in the background. How to use some of the different tools. So we're seeing some shapes, some text, some images, potential. Yeah, and there's so many things. I mean, Laura gave a lot of ideas too, but I mean, this could become a digital portfolio. If this was something that you wanted to start from day one with your students, I mean, they could continue to add. I know that the free version has 40 books. There are a lot of workarounds to get more books. So if, for example, you were having your kids all create their own All About Me book in the beginning of the year, there is a way that you could come over to your library shelf and you could combine books. So you could then combine all the books in your shelf into one single book, which then gives you 39 more books that kids could create another new book. So there's some workarounds that you could do. You can archive it, lots of possibilities. So love what we're seeing. Please feel free to continue working on that. Oh, we got some people that dabbled into the drawing. Love it. I'm gonna come back here because we are coming towards the end.
So one of the things that Judy and I have talked about a lot is how important it is to get our kids to really think outside of the box regularly. We know that often our kids don't play as much outside of school. There's a lot of things that can distract them. This is a perfect tool for embedding some of that play. Like Simon Sinek said, chaos is needed for that innovation. So and you can see when you're in something like Book Creator, you're going to make some mistakes. You're going to learn from that. You'll be able to adjust. And that's okay. That's a part of the creativity process. And it too, as our Sir Ken Robinson says, creativity is as important in education as literacy. We should treat it with the same status. So it's important for us to embed these opportunities, because they will collaborate with each other. They'll learn from the mistakes that they've made. They'll be able to, this stimulates their curiosity. There's so many pieces that will bring joy to that writing activity for them. And I know, Judy, you've got some resources that you want to share.
So thanks to Book Creator, they just came out with this back to school hub of ideas and resources. So if you are somebody tonight, whether you are a veteran of Book Creator or you are a novice, this would be my recommended first place to explore when you leave this webinar. So what they have done is they have I'm going to jump toward the bottom first. There's a variety of webinars. So if you want to learn even more about Book Creator and some different ideas, they've got all kinds of webinars that they've got posted there, all kinds of different resources and more. But for teachers, if I click on the for teachers here, they have created some templates for you. So by simply clicking on the get the template, I can read it now if I just want to read it, but I can remix that. So what they've done is they've created it as a template. So if I click on remix this book, and I can say, I would like that added to just my own books right now, but I could put that into, actually, I'll do that right now. I will put that into our current workshop shelf so that you can see it. And I'm going to copy to the library, but you guys can do this to your own as well. So now when I come back to my library, you can see that it's thinking there. And what I can do at this point, once it fully loads, is I can go in there and I can delete any pages that I don't want. I can add my own, I can modify them. But if this is something I want to use with kids, I'm going to click on the pages so you can see them all. So all of these are now sitting in my shelf. And if I'm looking through here, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is like a great page to use with kids. I'm going to use that. Maybe there's some pages that you don't want, you can delete them, but you can see how many that they've got. You might want to use the book as is. So you could put that into your shelf and make copies for your kids and generate some ideas from there. So we just included that as a great resource for you, because again, Book Creator has teachers in mind. And you saw that there's also a button for an admin. So if there's any administrators that are listening as well, they've got some templates there for you. So check those out. And again, we're going to be sharing the link for this slide deck as well as the recording, but these are just some links that can be helpful for you for growing in your own learning around Book Creator, and some ideas, and then some community areas where folks have joined to share their ideas as well. And so Laura and I really want to thank you guys for coming, not only on your summer vacation, but on a Friday of a beautiful summer day. And so thank you for carving time out of your week to join us. We hope that it was helpful. If you explore Book Creator, we would love for you to share back. We'd love to see the kinds of things that you're doing with kids. And we know that creativity is going to explode in your classroom. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.